Hi everyone, my name is Tracy Carpenter. This is my Data Action Plan final presentation. I am not currently in a classroom. I was an instructional technology specialist for many years, and I now work as an independent consultant for Discovery Education. I am so lucky, so fortunate to be part of Team 1 with Allie, Sarah, and Shara. Our team had a very productive semester and learned so much going through the data action model together. Our team kept in touch throughout the data action model process by using the class discussion forum, Basecamp, and Google Apps, namely Google Docs and Google Presentation, to create our multimedia collaborative presentations. These tools helped us stay in constant contact with one another. Basecamp was our go-to for daily communication. Basecamp is a free, web-based project management platform. We used Basecamp to message one another, share files and resources, and for our data meetings. Basecamp offers synchronous and asynchronous conversation tools. I think that using a tool such as Basecamp, where everything is housed in one place, is extremely helpful. When we conducted our data meetings, finding materials and referencing previous conversations was very beneficial and easy to do. Conducting data meetings was an essential part of the data action model. The data action model is a process for reviewing and responding to data. In the data action model, educators work independently and collaboratively to gain insights from data that can inform teaching and learning. The data action model begins with reviewing existing data from both formal assessments and formative assessments. The data team then triangulates or further reviews the data, leading to the team determining learning and instructional gaps. From there, learning goals are set based on the noted gaps. These goals are the basis for developing a plan for action. After the plan is put in place, the data team evaluates if the learning goals have been met and student performance needs addressed. The data action model is intended to be cyclical. After the learning goals are met, the process is not necessarily over. Each step in the data action model calls for reflection, both at an individual level and at a group level. The first step in the data action model is to review existing data. My group examined data from a pre-K classroom in DC public schools. Sarah, a pre-K teacher, is our only team member currently in a classroom. Initially, we examined a variety of artifacts, including a daily classroom schedule, daily lessons, pre-K scope and sequence, small group activity examples, individual learning and development reports, and on-the-spot checklists. When triangulating data, we found the on-the-spot literacy reports and learning and development reports to be very informative. In the on-the-spot reports for literacy, we noted that the majority of students perform below benchmarks in the area of notices and discriminates rhyme. We also noted this deficiency in the individual learning and development reports. In this middle of the year report, many students had several recommended activities to improve their rhyming skills. This learning and development report on phonemic awareness echoes the same sentiment. Notice and discriminates rhyme was an area that needs improvement. Considering the artifacts we examined, our team wrote this exploratory question. What teaching strategies are we presently using to teach phonemic awareness, specifically rhyming? How can those strategies be improved, and what additional strategies should be considered? This question provided an excellent framework for our team. It helped focus our efforts and research. Keeping our exploratory question in mind, our team worked to prioritize learning and instructional gaps we had noticed from analyzing artifacts. We found 3 learning gaps and 3 instructional gaps that we felt were significant and chose to focus on filling in rhyming words. A large majority of students were performing below benchmark when asked to fill in a rhyming word. Therefore, we assigned this the highest priority and chose to focus on this learning gap. We developed a SMART learning goal that addressed students being able to fill in a rhyming word. Our learning goal was at least 80% of the pre-K students will accomplish level 3 rhyming skills, filling in a rhyming word, by the end of the 4th quarter. Our team also discussed that instruction associated with our learning goal would need to be differentiated and include modifications for students at all ability levels. To measure our learning goal and make certain that our learning gap was successfully addressed, we decided to use a checklist as our evaluation metric. The checklist asked students to demonstrate level 3 rhyming ability by producing a rhyming word to match a given word 3 out of 4 times. Therefore, 80% of students would need to be proficient in filling in a rhyming word for the learning goal to be met. As I previously mentioned, my team noted that instruction related to our learning goal needed to be differentiated and be able to be modified for all ability levels. We kept that idea in mind when thinking about instructional tactics. We found the planning protocol rubric in Venables to be quite helpful. It served as a solid guide in assessing how an instructional tactic would impact teaching and learning related to our learning goal. For the action plan, my team included a variety of instructional tactics. Tactics for small group instruction and whole group instruction, lesson ideas that were teacher and student led, activities that occurred at different times throughout the school day, and activities that used traditional materials, such as flashcards, to activities that use technology to engage students, such as lessons using interactive boards, online games, and opportunities for students to create content using classroom iPads. There were 2 questions that our team addressed for our final data meeting. Do student learning gaps persist? And are students performing significantly better? The students in Sarah's pre-K classroom did meet our learning goal. In fact, students exceeded the goal, as 85% of students were able to spontaneously fill in a rhyming word. Our initial goal aimed for 80% of students to meet the performance criteria. Our efforts to infuse differentiation throughout our instructional tactics helped students perform significantly better. Student engagement around rhyming activities also increased. After discussing if our learning goal had been met, our team thought about what the next steps might be. If we were to develop another data plan or build on this data plan, we thought it would be prudent to revisit additional learning gaps we had identified in data meeting number 2. For example, alliteration was another area where many students were performing below benchmark. We chose to focus on rhyming as the need was greater. However, for the next steps in the plan, we could look at alliteration. We also discussed the need for an effective team, one that would include classroom teachers as well as administrators and specialists. This idea led to a discussion on the importance of building a PLC within the walls of the school and connecting with educators outside of the school. I learned a bit this semester about the flow of a pre-K classroom. I've worked with kindergarten students before, but not pre-K, and that was a little bit of an eye-opener. If I was to look at our instructional tactics and make some changes, I would introduce a technology-infused lesson each day. We did use technology in our instructional tactics, but I feel that introducing more effective digital tools and resources could help further increase differentiation. I would research additional strategies that could increase student engagement. Sarah's pre-K class did great with the engagement strategies we introduced. I would be interested in trying out different ideas, perhaps ones that encouraged more hands-on learning opportunities. I would also try to pull in specialists for activities. For example, bring in a reading specialist to work with students who are struggling. And lastly, I would aim for cross-curricular ways of addressing our learning goal. For example, have the class's PE teacher bring in rhyming into their lesson. That way, students would encounter rhyming not just in their own classroom, but throughout their school day. Keeping in mind from the start that data-informed decisions differ from data-driven decisions, the Data Action Plan procedures provide educators with a solid framework. At the beginning of the semester, I was a bit apprehensive. Some of my past experiences working with data have felt overwhelming. I feel as though the data action model is an ongoing process where educators are continually examining data, and for me, that model helps to make data more approachable. This model also encourages reflection not only on the artifacts, but reflection on the processes of examining data. Our team was conscientious about taking time to reflect on the processes as well as the data. Lastly, communication is key. Our team was in almost constant contact. Basecamp definitely helped us stay in touch. If someone needed to reschedule a meeting or task, that was a shift easily made because we were in such constant contact. Keeping the lines of communication open helped with completing tasks as well. Our team did a fantastic job of dividing up responsibilities and working collaboratively to complete assignments. One of my huge takeaways from the Data Action Plan is applying the Planning Protocol rubric to evaluate lesson ideas. The rubric is a fantastic tool for evaluating the qualifiers that help determine if an instructional idea is appropriate for a group of students. I can see using this rubric when I work with teachers and not just using the rubric for data meetings and evaluating instructional tactics, but adapting this rubric for evaluating instructional technology tools and resources. I found that 2 of my strengths in this process were contributing strategies and ideas for instruction. I also think that one of my strengths was being able to listen to my team members and leaving my bias at the door, leaving my own experiences behind and being open to others and really taking in what they had to say and listen to their experiences. And I think that 2 of my opportunities for growth are to have more opportunities to work with data and also to increase my knowledge of how data can be used to inform teaching and learning. In conclusion, I find Venable's data action model to be approachable. I find that the model relies on the importance of collaboration, and I also find that the ongoing reflection baked into the model is of great benefit to educators.